Have you ever been on a long journey where you were trying to get somewhere you were truly excited to get? Well, this week we learned about a group of people called the Magi who were doing just that.
I'm so excited.
These probably non-Jewish Magi, they traveled a really long way for literal months, following a star they saw in the sky, thinking that they were going to find the King of the Jews.
When you wish upon a star.
We don't really know exactly how these foreign Magi even knew about the King of the Jews, about the Messianic expectations of the Jewish people. We suppose that they probably met some Jewish people who told them about it, but in any case, it's not like they were experts on the scriptures or anything like that. They were sort of just paying attention.
Pay attention!
And apparently, not many of the Jewish people themselves were paying much attention, because when the Magi arrived in Jerusalem, assuming that's where they would find the Jewish king, they started asking around, and when people heard that the King of the Jews had supposedly been born, they knew where it was, but they weren't exactly flocking to follow the Magi. In fact, we're told they were disturbed. What an odd contrast. The Magi, on the other hand, were totally devoted to finding this king. They were so devoted, in fact, that even when they lost the star they had been following, they just kept asking around, and eventually when the star reappeared, they rejoiced and followed it again. Even when they were brought before King Herod, who was obviously jealous and could have caused real problems for them, they still kept going. But why? What motivated them? It can only have been a sense of hope.
Hope!
No, not that one.
Interestingly, after an incredibly difficult and messy journey, the Magi arrived at their destination and found Jesus. But he wasn't at all what they expected. They could have been upset or thought that they must have made a mistake, but even when they saw this humble child in this humble home with no appearances of royalty, they abandoned all pride and pretense and simply worshipped.
So rustic, so humble.
The Magi faced a tremendously messy journey, but at the end of the day, they were willing to follow God wherever He led them in the midst of the mess, even when they knew it wasn't going to be easy.
It'll be that easy. Why won't it be that easy?
The Magi can teach us a thing or two about faith in the mess. Sometimes the most valuable thing is not avoiding the mess. Sometimes the most valuable thing is the ability to walk with God, trust God, and encounter God in the middle of the mess. The Magi seem to have understood that the light shines brightest in the dark. When we get lost, there is grace. The star shows up again. God opens a new door and leads us out. But the question is, when we finally have that encounter with God, and it's not what we expected, how will we respond? Will we respond with pride, with fear, like Herod, or with worship?
Question of the ages.
The Magi were willing to seek the king even when things got way harder and way messier than they ever expected. But what about when we're afraid to set out on the journey in the first place? We just don't feel qualified for the task. Well, it's time to meet the Mother of God. Embrace the mess.